Whitney Nichole, and I am from Colorado. I'm Arapaho, and I am the daughter of David Montaño and the daughter of Dina Lavana Espinoza. I am the mother of Azriel Santino, Osiris Zion, and Sophia Simone. And I bring them here today with me to witness these teachings that bring me joy. I love astrology. It has definitely helped me have a better understanding of myself and the energies that I walk with and that I carry. And I'm thankful, Jen. Thank you, Jen, for putting this together and for inviting. Like, so much gratitude to be here and to share with all of you. I ask my higher self and my guides just to come in and to be heart-centered so that this message is delivered with divine love and gratitude to each and every one of you. May you receive what it is you came here to receive. I don't know how much of you guys know about astrology. I'm going to try to keep it just like basic so we can kind of know what I'm talking about, because I could go into it. Stop myself from doing that. So,
You don't lose your thought.
No, not at all.
Sorry. Your apologies. Welcome.
So astrology for me is how I interpret it. It's a celestial dance between the moon, the sun, and the planets. And this dance is basically choreography through the heavens so that we have a materialized experience here on Earth, and that we are supported by certain energies to help us ground and grow through the challenges of awakening and ascension and growing the human consciousness. So I personally today will be talking more about the outer planets, but just to give you guys a rundown, the personal planets, the smaller planets like Mercury, Venus, and Mars, those affect us personally day to day. They rotate around the Earth very quickly. The energies are felt in our day-to-day actions. They affect one person more than they affect another. Whereas the outer planets, those are more of collective energies. They take a lot longer to go around the sun. So therefore, there are groups of people and groups of generations that experience the same energy for a period of time. And so those are collective energies. And we're in a very exciting time right now because a lot of these outer planets are in their final degrees of certain elements and signs. So it means that we are starting a brand new cycle, and it's a collective cycle. And it is something that's never actually been documented or felt before, because a lot of these cycles are thousands of years long. So we signed up for this to come here and witness and participate and engage in these beautiful energies that are coming to play. And I say these things not to give fear to people, but so that we're just aware that in order to understand astrology, we have to look back into the history of what energies transpired when these planets met each other before, and how we can expect to see those same things kind of play out in a different way. So the first planet I really want to talk about is Uranus. And so Uranus right now it's in Taurus, which is an earth sign. And if you are aware or familiar with the elements, the earth element is about stability. It's about building. It's about structure. It's about finances. It's about food. It's about supply chains. And the planet Uranus when it was discovered, we were all in shock because it was on its side. It was doing completely the opposite rotation of the rest of the planets in the solar system. And it inherently gave it the energy of rebellion. Like, it just didn't follow the rules. And it totally threw us all into like astrologers into like, well, what does this mean? Like everything that we've known, the status quo, like has literally been flipped on its side, and now we have to figure like it was a revolutionary energy. And that is the type of energy that when Uranus comes around that we are expected to see. And it takes about 84 years for Uranus to go around the entire zodiacal signs. So it's going to be leaving Taurus and entering into Gemini, which is an air sign. And as we know, air and earth are very different. Where air provides structure and support, or where earth provides structure and support, air completely like dematerializes it. It is movement. It has no structure or bounds. It decentralizes things. You have to learn how to communicate differently. It's fast. It's not slow and grounded. It's what most or some would call like the mental mind. So more up high rather than down low. And so having the planet of chaos, rebellion, revolution, enter into the Aries sign of Gemini is just, it's going to change things up. It's going to mix things around. And this happened back in 1980. So it's gradually been happening. The air sign, or the air generation gradually started happening then. So we've had tastes of it here and there with like the internet, with how we communicate. I think I hear a lot of people nowadays talk about how fast things are going, or how it seems like it's just flying by. And that is that air energy that's moving in and dissolving the structures and basically our way of life, everything that we've known thus far. However, America has an actual relationship with Uranus that is quite challenging. Every time that Uranus moves into Gemini, America experiences war. For the last 3 cycles it has. We had the American Revolution, we've had the Civil War, and then Pearl Harbor, which put us into World War II. So having that and knowing that means that most likely we will experience war again in some facet, shape, or form. However, because I believe we are at a different level consciously, these wars are going to look a little different, more like information wars, which we're already experiencing, more like drone wars, which in the news has definitely been, we're not calling it war yet, but it's definitely in our field of understanding. And so knowing that, and knowing that that has to come in so that we can dissolve the structures that are no longer working for us, it's important that we understand that there's really nothing to be afraid of with that. It's more or less like understanding like we've been there before. If we've already endured this 3 other times as American soil and already fought these wars, then it's nothing new to us. So there's really nothing to be afraid of, but our approach is to, I feel like, to be more open with our hearts. And also when we think of air and we think of the animals that reside in the air, like birds flock together. That's how they endure the air element. They use each other to not get tired when they're flying. Like they work in community and in groups. They make their nests high, so there's a higher perspective for the animals in the air element. So I think that we can take away that information as human beings and really start to come together and find our flock so that we can endure these next levels of age, of the air age. Because it is going to get a little rocky, I think, more than we think, or more than we know. Like we're already feeling these energies, but I think we're just starting. In fact, because of the other outer planets, basically, we're going to see the peak of all of the chaos and the violence and the polarity in around 2030. That's when the other outer planet, Pluto, Pluto is a planet of transformation. It's the planet of power. This planet, yeah,
You're going to Pluto, I'm still in Uranus. That was enormous what you just said.
it's a lot. Yeah,
With Uranus, right? Didn't
Yeah.
it? Oh my gosh. No, I just gotta slow it down.
sure. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
you know what I mean? What would it signify to have Uranus in your first house?
So if you have Uranus in your first house, like
Generally, totally.
just generally speaking, it means that you don't follow the status quo, that you're more of like a rebellious individual or prefer to stand out amongst the crowd.
Okay.
You look for alternative ways to express yourself. Your physical body probably does not look average by any means because,
Oh, you're great.
yeah, it's totally different
All right,
energy in the
Pluto.
first.
Because Pluto had to begin this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Pluto's the main energy we're going to be feeling for the
Okay.
next 20 years.
All right.
So Uranus is one that I brought in because it has a relationship with America itself.
Yes.
So understanding that like next year it's entering into Gemini. And when it does that, we could start hearing more about wars that America is actually involved in. But like with the American Revolution, you think about how it was the start of our government. George Washington was the first president to come into office during a time when Uranus was in Gemini. So it was like the foundation of America was built in these energies. And so if we understand that, we can take away that we might have to rebuild again in this space. You know, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were also in play when Uranus was in Gemini before. So we can see those things repeating itself. And so Pluto has something to do with that as well. Pluto was discovered in 1930, and it was discovered around the time when we were splitting atoms. So the atomic bomb, fascism was at a height, like World War II was coming into place. It's just a power-packed little planet that everybody kind of forgets because it's so far off. And it also follows a rare elliptical. It's not the same as our planet, which makes it special in the sense that for a period of time, like it takes it 248 years to go around the sun. And 2 times out of that period, it either migrates off to the south or the north where we can't see it, and we call it out of bounds. And when it's out of bounds, any planet, when it's out of bounds, means that it is a wild card. Basically, extreme ends of the energies that it is harnessing. And it can basically create or destroy, like at its maximum. So Pluto next year, actually 2025, will be going out of bounds for the first time in a long time, but also it's going to be going to the south. So I just want to give you guys a little understanding of north and south. So when it goes to the north, out of bounds, we see leaders that are more like dictators. We see tyrannical leaders. Hitler, it was out of bounds to the north when Hitler was in play, when Caesar Augustus was in play, when Genghis Khan, like we just see like these extravagant leaders come in and take over. This is when empires are usually built. Okay. When Pluto migrates out to the north and goes out of bounds, these are times, or to the south,
Yes.
it means that these are revolutions. This is when power goes back to the people. This is when society and civilizations can be completely destroyed, collapse. But we also usually see leaders step in that help to rebuild and structurize a new society or civilization. And so we're in for Pluto going to the south, which can be a really good sign for us. It's not going to be an easy time because of the destruction, chaos, and collapse. You know, you have to stay grounded. And having Pluto in that space, it's going to reach its peak being out of bounds in 2030. And the last time that Pluto reached its peaks in the north out of bounds, we had the signing of our Constitution. So we'll probably see that energy again around 2030. A new Constitution, a new agreement between all of us. And I think that it's going to be more on a global level because it's all the outer planets that are involved. And I do believe that we will have a leader rise at that time as well. That is going to completely shift the narrative. For example, in the Crusades era, when Constantine came in and implemented Christianity, this was a time when Pluto was to the north as well.
The south.
To the south, thank you. To the south. So he came in and stopped the killings and started a religion that to this day is still very, very strong. So we're going to see that type of energy coming to play. We're going to have to weather the hard times before we get there, though. And I think our personal responsibility as individuals and aware of this, because we can't really do much outside of ourselves, but if we can take care of ourselves internally and really stay grounded in love, forgiveness, nourishing our bodies, like I truly believe like what's inside is going to show up for us outside. So in order to kind of tone it down and allow us to get through this a little easier, having the personal responsibility to take care of ourselves during this time and to really, really like unite with one another and know that like we were made for this. We're here for this. This is why we are here right now. And together we can weather this storm. I also think that these planetary influences, they're just here to support us and let us know that like it's all out of our hands to an extent, but like it's actually all of it's because of us that this is happening. We're here to change the powers that be. This specific Pluto out of bounds is very, 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 very special because this usually happens. The cycle is every 248 years. It usually happens half of that. So 125 years, we see the out of bounds cycle. This specific out of bounds will not happen for thousands of years after this. Like it's completely changing. So Pluto's cycle it's not going to follow the narrative anymore. So
didn't Pluto just enter Aquarius?
It's
for the last time. It's not going to go into shadow for 22 years.
20 years. So 2044 is when we'll see it
It's going to
exit.
be in
Right now,
Aquarius for 20 years.
yeah, and that just happened on the 19th of November.
Right.
So what's very interesting is we just had our presidential inauguration before Pluto entered into Aquarius. And what's really important to know about Capricorn, which is the sign before what Pluto was in for the last 13 years, and Aquarius is that they are the only consecutive signs in our solar system that are ruled traditionally by Saturn. And Saturn, so I consider it Saturn's domain, and Capricorn and Aquarius go together. So if we think about when Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008, we had a major financial breakdown. Chances are we're going to see that again, but worse because it builds off of what happens in Capricorn.
It's going to be better.
It's going to be better. I think it's totally.
It's going to be the other way.
After it falls.
But it has to
No,
fall.
it already falls.
It has to fall.
Coming back.
But no, so Saturn is actually, a lot of people fear Saturn because it's like, it's hard. It's the taskmaster, it's the teacher. It's like, these are the rules. There's restriction. You can't really be creative. This is how it works and how it goes. But the nice thing about Saturn is if you learn to embrace that, you can master whatever it is it's teaching you. And it really is a gift. And so for us to live through the domain of Saturn since 2008 till now 2044, we're really as a community, as society, learning to master this energy. And what we know now is when Pluto doesn't go out of bounds again, that this is setting something up for the next millennia. Like this is the foundation. This is the real raw foundation, and we're all part of it. So I think this next year is going to be it's going to be interesting. We're going to be living through some interesting times. So staying grounded, I think, is going to be the most important thing that we can do. Getting out into nature, really connecting with the earth, really anchoring in the love, anchoring in the light, even when it's hard. I think that's the responsibility that we carry as earth beings, but also as star beings. And just allowing ourselves to understand that even with change, even if we know what's coming, sometimes it feels overwhelming. And so learning to surrender to those energies, learning to just allow it to happen, is going to be very beneficial for these times. We're definitely going to see changes in the way we trade our money as well. 2009 was when Bitcoin came in, so Pluto was in Capricorn. So it was the foundational skeletal structure of what we will now see come to fruition in Aquarius. So we will see a change with the coinage. And Neptune is directly related to coinage. When Neptune was discovered, like we were actually, the coin was first being traded. And so now it's going to be moving in, it's in its final degrees as well. And it's going to be moving in 2026 into Aries, which is at 1 degree, which is the very beginning of zodiac signs. So it's going back to the very beginning. It's a fresh start. So this is literally, it's changing everything. We're going to see it completely change. So it's exciting that we have all of these out.
Crazy.
Yeah, this next year we're in for a wild ride.
So, what do we do with our cash? What do we do with the dollar, the cash? Like, do we get silver? Do we get gold? Do we get Bitcoin? Like, what do we do?
Right. And a lot of astrologers will tell you different things based off of their bias and perspective.
What's
But
your perspective?
my perspective is understanding that we're going into an age of air. Like 2020 was the mark of the age of air. We're not going back into earth anymore. We're in air now. That we are going to decentralize the way things work. So centralized banking, I don't think is going to be a thing. I think it's going to start turning into small pockets of individuals that are going to start learning what works better for them. So for instance, like, yes, the internet came to play and we have Facebook and Twitter and all this, but those are still centralized facets of information. Now, if you start noticing over the last couple of years, people are buying subscriptions to individual people that they watch instead of going to Facebook for their information that is broad and widened. And they're actually choosing, like, I like the content that this personal creator is making. I'm going to give you my money and I'm going to watch your content. And so I think that's going to happen with money. I think in trading and learning how, like, this has value to me, and we agree as a group, and we start using our own ways of trading and taking the money back into our hands. I don't think it'll be a fiat system at all. I do think we will see Bitcoin kind of make a huge play because the centralized banking system is starting to adopt actual, they're starting to sign things into place that says they're going to start using like Ripple, XRP in the next year as forms of payment. So they are moving in that direction, but I think we'll see it, but I think we'll see it collapse. I don't think it'll be the way. I really don't. Well, it still follows Capricorn and Earth. It still follows the fact that they're trying to structurize it and have it in one place, and we're all supposed to go to them for this. And that's just not what the Age of Air is about. So we're gonna have to learn how to completely redo how we accept and value things as trade. And I think not knowing exactly how this is gonna look is probably the scariest part.
Well, supposedly that's the benefit of cryptocurrencies because it isn't centralized. It's literally scattered abroad. I don't know quite how that system works, but yeah, that way if a central bank or something were to fail, it doesn't affect your currency because you just can pull it up over here or over there where we're no longer dependent on the, like you say, the centralized system that contains a whole container, right?
Right. And so yes, Bitcoin and that is what you're saying, whereas CBDCs, like centralized digital currency, is what the banks are trying to push right now.
Right.
which I think, I guess that, so yes, what you're saying is Bitcoin, we might see that actually be more of how we trade. But
Right, and then
centralized digital bank
and then we're
currencies are not
trusting that the
gonna.
electric is gonna hold up and somebody doesn't just hit the delete button and how many. Supposedly, if
Right,
it's
right.
not centralized, that can't happen, you know. You can't.
Right, you can't just take it all away.
I just want silver.
But also
I've
when
seen
you
it
think
possible.
about, wait, I lost my train of thought, sorry.
There's always gold and silver and gold backs. So we can just hand each other gold and silver, and just gold back.
There is that, and that's an element of earth for sure. So, you know, I always think it's good to have those things, and I think like most of the countries in our world have relied and stored gold to fall back on, but because gold and silver are such an earth element, I just don't see it being the way we trade. It just doesn't seem like that's the way we're going as far as from an astrological perspective. Yeah, we're gonna, so the other thing I need to tell you guys, because this is really important, is Neptune, right now, Neptune's the planet of illusion. It's the planet that lets you see things through rose-colored glasses. It is the vast ocean. It is very dreamy. It's like the feel good. It just feels good. But when Neptune is at its critical degree, which is 29 degrees, which we're going into, you have to be very, very careful about everything that's coming out and everything that you see, because there's a very thick fog of illusion right now. So aliens, all of this stuff that's coming into, you know, the mass mindset right now, we have to be very, very sobered by it and not into the illusion of, oh my gosh, someone's here to save us, or they're here finally and we don't have to worry yet. Like, it's all an illusion right now. This is the thickest of the fog. So really, again, staying grounded through this, because there's going to be a lot of things that are coming out that we think are real and they're just not. It's just not. And so until Neptune moves into Aries in 2026 and is met there with Saturn, where Saturn kind of gives it some more bounds, more restriction, we're going to be living in a very weird world. A very weird world.
Is that the jinn at play, Jinn, when you say like a jinn would create that?
I'm confused.
I'm sorry.
I just don't know what jinn, like
Jinn. Yeah, that's the evil force you described beautifully, explicitly. It's called jinn. You know, from the East, they have the jinn. Like a genie.
Okay.
Genie.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So
I
Neptune.
apologize.
Yeah, no, this is definitely the trickster energy. For big time right now. So 2025 is the year where, like I said, a lot is going to be changing. A lot is becoming to the forefront. We're hearing a lot of groups of people latching on to certain narratives and really going with it. And the point right now is not to latch on to any narrative. It is to stay super grounded. It's to open your heart. It's to sink into the heart when we're confused and really live from that space, because there won't be clarity coming in, at least without the planetary support, until 2026.
Don't get hooked on opium.
Yeah, don't get hooked on opium. But it's a good time to stay very sober and very grounded, because it's about to take off, and it's nothing to be scared of, but these are exciting times. We signed up for this adventure, and we're all here delivering the messages that need to be delivered so we can be prepared. So I'm excited to see where it goes, especially as someone who's so into how the planets play for us. I am excited in the next 20 years to look back and be like, whoa, like that is actually what happened. The geek in me is going to come out. So yeah, called it. But I'm really excited for 2030, because I really think that's when we're going to see the breakthrough. That's when we're going to see a leader come to power that's going to help restructurize. And I think because there's so much more conscious awareness on the planet at this time, and because Pluto is only going out of bounds one last time, I think this could honestly mean a global conscious awakening.
I know, I keep feeling, it's Star Trek type.
It's literally, I think, going to be an energy that no one has ever felt before. And that's what's going to lay the foundation for the next era. that we experience. So it's exciting. I'm excited. Guys.
Awesome information, Whitney.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it's
very
Fucking
cool.
fascinating.
So cool. It's a lot. I know that I gave you guys a lot of information, but
You could keep
Hopefully
talking
it
for
was,
like another 5 hours
like,
and I'd be like,
easy to
"Yeah."
Don't stop.
and I was like, don't include too many dates. Don't include too. I was like, gotta just keep this because yeah, all of that stuff. I love it. It's really fascinating to see how it ties back to things that have already happened.
Do you do birth charts?
I do.
Is it Vedic or tropical?
So I studied both.
Nice.
I'm currently a student of Hellenistic. I'm in a 4-year
Never
program
heard
for
of
that.
Cool.
And so that's Western, but it also kind of brings in Eastern or Vedic because we don't recognize the outer planets. I love the outer planets. I think they're my fascination, but there's something to say about the way ancient astrologers read just the inner planets and the impact that they have. So that's what I'm learning now.
Right.
Yeah, but if
And then-
anyone's
and then
interested
isn't
in
there,
natal
like,
charts, I read
Vedic
them.
versus tropical, it's like there was fixed stars and then some the Gregorian calendar and then it changed or something and
So Western astrology is based off of the sun as
Oh.
like a heliocentric
oh
model, and so the precessions of the equinox and the solstice, like those, move the planetary alignments. And so in Vedic astrology, they actually measure their will off of the actual stars and constellations. And so you'll hear a lot of people say like Western is more of the like the physical experience here on Earth. Eastern is more
internal.
is the internal and like the spiritual.
Yeah, I've heard Western tropical is like how people view you, and then the Vedic is like who you really are.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very interesting. I go back and forth between my charts all the time to just like be like, oh, I see, like I'm operating more from my spirit self than I am from my materialistic self. Yeah, it's very
It's
interesting.
I would love
just-
What do you
it's
think
very
about
accurate.
the Fucus, like the inclusion of the 13th sign?
So Ophiuchus, I think I don't believe that it is part of this zodiacal will. I think that was placed in there to confuse people with where the planets are actually at and what signs they're going into, because it completely changes by degrees, and then it changes the whole outcome of, and if I remember correctly, that sign was being introduced around 2012 to the collective. And yeah, I truly believe, yes, it's up there in the sky, but it's not a part of the reality that we're experiencing. And if we throw it in there now, I think it would confuse everybody. It wouldn't allow for what needs to happen on a conscious level to happen. And I think that's what they wanted when they put the powers up, because it was NASA that actually was like, hey, guess what? There is a 13th sign. Now you guys all need to know this. And I was like, okay, you're putting this in at a very interesting time, 2020, when all these calendars or 2012 when all the calendars were supposed to be going out.
Change your sign, huh?
So it was like, let's just change, let's throw this in and see what happens. But it does exist and it's up there, but I don't think it's a part of this timeline. Yeah. It is an interesting one.
Say the Mayans calendar didn't end, they just ran out of pink up. I heard that one yesterday at Planetary, I was like.
Well, I know the dog was actually born the last day of the Mayan calendar, 2012. That's her birthday. Yeah, December
It's not
21st.
the last, it's just a new age. It's like a reset. Never, and they never said it ended. They said then that starts the 5th age. It's like when you come to the end of the year, it's like, oh, it's the other time. No, it's 2024 now.
Well, and with that whole calendric system, I mean, we were fooled back when Gregorian calendar came into place. It changed the actual numbers of what we're counting.
True
So the 2012 calculation wasn't the actual calculation of the Mayan calendar. We're seeing that now. It's actually, they say, correlated to 2020, which was the age of air, which means a new era, a completely new era. But interesting.
Awesome.
Wow. Thank you.